thank you to our 3 sponsors for supporting our podcast. Johnny Russell's Art Caterers and Milltown Pies, who offer fantastic catering services, Alexander Grace Law, who provide modern and client-led legal services, and SBE Furnishings, who offer high-quality furnishings and electrical items at fantastic prices.
Anything that, go on, Duke.
So you said it's a strange season, and the weather. Joe remembers the weather being bad. You look at the stats; it is so weird. Nobody. Finchy batted 18 times. Obviously, he's an opener. Ben batted 14 times. And that's the next highest innings in a league season. 14 innings in a league season.
So wet.
It's weird. So weird.
Yeah.
Finchy had 400 odd runs. Charlie had 300 odd, and that was it. Everybody else was a couple of 200s, and the rest was in the 100s. It must have been horrible.
Even Blaise had a
218 from 12 knocks. Blaise.
Injury?
No. It was the weather. Like I said, everybody else had 13 innings, 14 innings. That was it.
It was Aaron O'Brien, didn't we? We had as pro.
Yeah. Well, the game I opened at Burnley, we actually won, and we had a really threadbare team.
Right.
Marcus got some runs, didn't he, at the end of the innings?
Yeah, Swifty played as well.
Right.
And so the second team at that point was Matt Marquis, Swifty, Aggers, Phil Edmondson, people like that who were really, really strong second teamers.
Yeah.
Which was really good for me to play in, because it's great to learn off people like that at that level who do it week in, week out at that standard.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but it's but I suppose you forget about that what a difficult season that was because of the conditions. So you've progressed through there. 2008, you've played quite a few games.
Again, I was a bit in and out, I think. Who was a pro? Brendan. Unless I did play a full. No, I'm fairly sure I was in and out a bit again. Not much I remember from that season other than scoring about 6 runs, I think, in the first team. I can remember batting with Dooch at home against Aslington. I think Brendan had got 80 odd and was just whacking it everywhere. Their pro was David Bandier, and he'd got 100 or 90 odd, something like that. Brendan had got us into it all on his own, pretty much, if I can remember rightly. And then me and Dooch were in at the end, trying to whack a few as Dooch had often tasked with. I hit 1-4, Jez.
Right, good effort.
And that's it, really.
Right.
I also hit a 4 on my debut, but we played against Todd. It was a reduced game, 30 overs, I think. And their pro was Duplessis. So obviously, brilliant play. I dropped him on 15 or something like that at long off.
Yeah.
He got 80 odd not out. And then cleaned me up with a googly.
Right. And that was your first game?
That was my first team debut, yeah.
And you were fielding at long off on your first team debut?
Yeah.
Who were captain then?
Finch.
Finch, yeah, right, okay.
I don't know if
he
was...
Of that?
I'd like to think with Finch you were trying to give me that bit of responsibility to try and push me on.
Yeah.
Opening the batting field in there, but you'd have to ask him.
Yeah, we will do. Yeah, we will do.
16-year-old, 5 stone wet through, fielding at long off to pro with pro batting. Yeah. Cheers, Skip.
4'10". So anything that comes anywhere near you,
it was one I had to run in and slide for as well, and it was just it weren't an easy catch, but it obviously changed the game a bit.
Yeah, I bet. So you've so obviously then you go through your 2008, 2009, Aaron Heel, and then Francois starts to play. So what about those 3 or 4 years? You're starting to establish yourself then.
A little bit. I wouldn't have said I still did a lot in those 2 years. 3 years of Francois, really. Only towards the end of the 13 season, I think.
Right.
But Francois was probably my first proper pro, if that makes sense, where I was in the team every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
2008, I was a bit in and out. 2009, we had no pro.
Yeah.
2010, I was in and out of the side again.
Yeah.
And then 2011, I think I played every game, actually.
Right.
Maybe missed one.
Yeah.
So he was the first proper pro I had, really.
Yeah, and you've got a proper captain as well, haven't you? You know, it's not Finch here. You've got Charlie's doing it then.
Charlie was doing it then. Charlie was a brilliant captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you can really say about it. Brilliant captain.
Yeah, just led by example. So what were your first season? You're clearly going to be a good Lancashire League player. You just got to learn the ropes a little bit. You've got to, find your feet and get used to playing against good players and bowl. Certainly bowling. You're batting. You're very correct.
Yeah,
there's
I probably didn't. I didn't really bowl Jez until 2013, probably.
Yeah.
Properly. And then, but I was more of a batter before that, I think.
Yeah.
But some of my returns between 2008 and
I've got those
27. Some years I got 16, 70 runs.
Well, I was thinking more about the bowling, but you look at the year on year for your bowling stats. So you made your debut in 7. You played 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You got no wickets, 3 wickets, 10 wickets, 3 wickets, 7 wickets, 7 wickets, up to 2012. And then it's like someone flicks a switch and you go 2013, 47 wickets, 32, 34, 49, 30, 38.
49, yeah, I'll go to that. I had 2 drop catches in the last game.
Well, I was going to ask you about drop catches actually, but I mean, that might form part of a separate discussion. You've got 277 league wickets. How many do you reckon you should have?
A double, at least double.
Do you reckon?
If we had an half-decent keeper, double.
Yeah.
And is that you genuinely, Joe drops quite a lot of yours?
I don't get that many nicks, to be honest, Jez, but you'll regularly see your batter run past it and hit him in the chest.
Right, I see. Yeah.
Jez, on that game, he got 49. That season, he got 49 wickets. In the last game of the season, we had a sub-pro called Jalak Khan.
Right.
And so that would have been 2015, I think. And so we had. So he was a left-arm orthodox spinner, and
right.
I'll be honest with you, I had no idea what was going on. Balls were spinning past me. Ones that were going straight, we kept missing. Bless were fielding it short of time, and he had to keep chasing it to boundary edge. It kept running away for 4 as Blez had to slide into. And I can just remember Blez sort of shouting, "Oh God!" about 5 times. And then Jalak Khan took a load of wickets, and then he took the last wicket. And I can remember Paddy having his head in his hands. Off Jalak Khan took this last wicket, but preceding that, he was looking at me and he said, "He's doing." Keeper's doing his best, Jalak, and he went, "Oh no."
Oh, correct. So Dooch has just mentioned there, Paddy, about someone flicking a switch. Can you remember a significant moment in your career as to when you? And obviously, I would imagine you're bowling more. But was it because of a change of a team? Was it because something different you'd done or Charlie had done?
I don't think so. I mean, 2011, I didn't get a lot of runs, but I got what I'd probably say were important runs, sort of 15, 20s not out, and contributed hopefully towards winning the league a bit. I don't know. I know Francois helped a bit. Well, not a bit, a lot. Especially with, although I've not got many runs there, is some of the foundations he put in for my batting were brilliant. And I couldn't really say about Bolt, maybe just getting more of a chance.
Yeah.
Before that, it was sort of none for 20 off 4 overs, none for 16 off 4 overs. And I felt like if I got it for a 4, I'd be taken off.
Right.
Maybe just a bit more responsibility given to me.
Right. What do you think about that, Joe? What was going on around that period?
Well, I think it coincided, and this isn't any kind of slight against Paddy and him becoming the bowler he is, but it was Finchy didn't really play that year. I think he only bowled 60 balls, I think, that year in 2013.
Right.
So, Finch would have bowled a considerable amount of overs the previous 2 years when we won the league and we won the double. And obviously, with Finch not playing, you've got a natural gap. We don't bring any players in. We try and bring our own through. So it seems like it was a logical path for Pat to come and have a chuck, and grasped it.
Yeah, it makes sense. So you mentioned Francois there, Paddy, because he was completely unknown when he first came, and I've got to admit I wasn't sure. There's not much pedigree. He's relatively young. I think it's safe to say, quite a few people weren't sure the way he behaved and the way he looked and the way he went about those early games. What was your earlier impressions of him?
So I think it was a Thursday, the first night he came, and we had training, and I was the first there. Frankie came in.
Right.
So we got talking. His English isn't great now, and it was horrendous then, even though he won't accept it. And I said, "Oh, it's Thursday night. You'll probably be going out tonight, student night." No, I don't want to get involved in the drinking. And then the next 10 years have ensued where he's
got involved.
Yeah, very much involved.
He's basically a functioning alcoholic now, isn't he?
Oh, without a doubt. And I can just remember it so clearly, him saying, "No, I don't want to get involved in that." I used to spend pretty much every Sunday night at the club. My sister would work. There'd be me, Frank and Gav left. Frankie would be drinking from under the pumps. Gav would be sat at the side arguing with Frankie. I'd just be sat in the corner watching them argue. We'd go to Jules's, get a pie each from Chippy, leave our £2 on the mantelpiece for her, play on the PlayStation a couple of hours. I'd get home and then do it again the next week.
Right. Must have been so exciting.
Yeah, it's so good walking up Liverpool Road, listening to them two just tear each other apart over a bowling change or something like that on a Sunday.
Yeah, and you'd not taken a drink whatsoever?
No, I just walked around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learning. That's what you're doing.
Interesting that Gav would be going for a pie, though, isn't it? That's very interesting.
In fairness to Gav, Joe, I'm going to stick up for him. He often didn't come back to Jules's.
Right.
But I can remember vividly me, him and Frank sat on the settee with possibly 2 pies each.
So let's just get this right. So Frankie's living at Jules. She's fantastically looked after him for all those years. Jules, for the listeners who doesn't know, is Bird's Chippy it's on Lowerhouse Lane, isn't it? That's the Lowerhouse Lane there. Is it Rosegrove Lane? Lowerhouse Lane. No.
I don't know.
Right opposite the car park is
for the train station.
Yeah. And so you three have walked up, carrying between you probably between 24 and 26 pints between the three of you in your bellies.
And I've only had a pint of lemon lemonade.
You've gone in, and have you got your pies from actually in the counter? Are they still in the, in the wall?
They were either. No, I think they were in the freezer, and Francois used to just chuck them in the microwave for 5 minutes.
So you've got 6 pies out the freezer. Francois microwaved them, defrosted them, and then the three of you sat there playing on a PlayStation, eating 2 pies each.
Yeah, I probably had 1, to be fair, Jez.
Right, but so Gav would have had 3 then?
No comment.
Right, okay. So that's that's around the
and that
Francois
was not
era.
The third year of Francois, not as much because he'd met Becky.
Right.
But the first 2 years were pretty much that.
Yeah, every weekend.
If his daft South African mates weren't over.
Right. Okay.
Give him a Waldo.
Yeah. So Waldo, Jez, Frank had turned up. Obviously, he's enormous. Waldo, his mate, had turned up, who was shorter than Joe. But they both had the exact same clothes on. Same socks, same trainers, same everything. And they were both stood at practice, and it was just comical.
He fielded with us, didn't he? Waldo.
Yeah.
I think he was a wicket keeper, and he ran a fielding session or something like that.
Right, I do remember that.
Voldu, as Francois called him.
Yeah, Waldo.
Was he a cricketer? Did he play somewhere?
He was a professional keeper over in. He may have even been for Free State with Frank, but
Right.
oh, it's just hilarious. Genuinely, a foot difference between them.
Right.
Dressed exactly the same.
So then you've properly established yourself, and you've obviously formed a great friendship with Francois since. We have a laugh and a joke about it, but you've got a great friendship there going. And then Corbus comes over and plays, and and then for a couple of years Dieter, and then okay, and you've really properly established yourself in the side. And I think it's safe to say one of the most. And when I say attacking off spinners in the league, you are someone that will, change a game. From what I've seen, I know you can bowl, negative as well, but you can, change a game for the club. Did you work extra hard in the last 5 years to get that extra part of your game? I know you started coming around the wicket a lot, and it's just really, did you? I saw a significant change in your outlook onto to bowling in the first team.
I can't remember the year exactly, but I did a bit of work just one weekend. There was a game. It was raining, or it was due to rain, and I used to go down quite a lot and throw to Finch.
Yeah.
That's when he was interested in playing. So I'd throw to Finch, he'd bat. I'd get 5 or 6 balls at the end to bat.
Yeah. But you'd have to fag out balls he's whacked.
Yeah.
You'd have to go and fag them.
The worst case of that, Jez, was at Enfield, where I was throwing to Finch in the warm-up.
Right.
He whacks this ball back at me. It's a curbstone, goes straight through the window.
No way.
Turn around, look, there's a massive all-lit window. Turn back again, Finch is gone. The woman comes screaming out, and it's literally just me stood there. So he threw me under the bus a bit there. But that weekend where the game was due to be off, I did a bit of bowling with him before.
Right.
And that made a big difference.
Right. And I take it then, Finchy talked to you about it, with him being top-class coach. Did he talk you through the art of off-spin?
A little, well, yeah. Well, to be fair, I had to ask him, but
I'm paying.
His knowledge of cricket and cricket techniques unbelievable.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah,
and that made a big difference.
Yeah.
And still at that point, I'd go and ask Nigel and see what he thought. I'd still do tomorrow if I could.
Yeah. And did they encourage you to come around the wicket, or was it something that was just more about your action? And
I don't know really. I think the main reason I do it, Jez, is it's just the moving of the sight screens. Genuinely, that's the main reason. It's so frustrating in that I'm bowling, the sight screen has nothing to do with me, yet we have to move it.
Well, there you go, Jez. You were looking for some sort of detailed tactical analysis there, weren't you, on why balls around the wicket?
And it's just laziness, Jez. The Paddy is.
I have more to add to it yet.
Well, let me just go in, Jez, because Paddy will frequently. He's a very rushed bowler. So he'll get a dot ball, we'll throw it back to him, and he'll be ready on his mark, and nobody else will be watching, and he's bowling. The amount of times, this might explain a lot actually, the amount of times that I'm not even in my stance or looking, and Paddy's in his delivery stride, and I have to kind of jimmy myself into position to get to be ready to stump somebody. It's incredible. And Chaz always has to say, Pat, slow down. Slow down, and then obviously he gets in a huff because he's always angry. So yeah, that's another thing, Jez.
Right, so Paddy, let's just come back to you. And I'd like you to respond to that. And I know you hadn't finished what you were saying, but I just recap. You've just said, you didn't like the sight screen being moved, and then I quote you, because the sight screen is nothing to do with me.
Yeah, when I'm bowling, the sight screen's not for my benefit, is it? When you're fielding or bowling.
No, but what's that got to do with you getting the best out of your ability and bowling, steadily?
Take 10 minutes to move it, and then because the umpires all of a sudden think, oh, I forgot to keep track of this time, and then we're 10 overs over.
Right. So go on anyway, Paddy. Finish off what you were going to say.
And the other thing is it does cut off one side of the wicket, really. So it means I can't particularly get hit through the offside. If I do, it's more of a risk because of the angle going across and then coming back in. Playing against the spin a bit more into the offside's a bit more of a risk than staying over the wicket where they can just put that pad in the lane.
Yeah.
And it brings LB into play a lot more.
Yeah, I suppose it does now, wouldn't it? It does now. All umpires have watched telly a lot and think that spinners get a lot more wickets than they used to do.
I'm fairly sure, Jez, all of mine have been out.
Yeah. And those that haven't, you've thrown your teddies out and booted stumps over. But anyway, we'll
get on to that later,
Jez. Yeah, we'll come on to that. So, but I must admit, when I'm not a big fan of it. I'm traditional old off spin, bowling over the wicket, and and trying to set your field to get your wickets. But you've done fantastically well in doing it, and it proves, that you're thinking about that, and obviously with Charlie and other coaches that you've done, that you're getting a lot of wickets through there. So if we just move on there, we've talked about your bowling and the amount of wickets you've got. What about your batting? How have you felt that's gone over the last 10 years? Has it gone better or worse?
Wally. It's got better in the last few years, I think. The biggest problem with my batting, Jez, is I absolutely hate getting out.
Right.
Joe will tell you I could genuinely be annoyed at myself for 2 weeks for getting out.
Right.
And I also just enjoy batting. I'm not bothered about runs. I just enjoy hitting a ball.
Yeah.
Which, from a team concept, is not great.
Yeah.
And then that's my. So if we're batting first, that's part of my problem. I get a bit locked into a bubble of, I'm just enjoying blocking this.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously chasing, there's a bit more of a plan behind it.
Yeah.
But in terms of returns, more runs in the last few years.
Yeah.
More match winning innings. Before it was, as I said, 15, 16 not out, things like that.
Yeah.
Particularly in 2011, 2012. But
Yeah.
again, there were some important knocks. So I felt early, sort of 2011 to 2015, something like that, I would bat 6, 7, 8 and try and sort of get a quick few at the end or try and take us over the line if it was a tie game.
Yeah. And you've been there.
Now I've sort of like to think of more of a top order batter. But
yeah. And I've been there, with some important games, and you do get, you can build those partnerships, and as you get more experience, whoever you're batting with, you are you're a fantastic asset to the side. Is there anything, Joe Martin, about Paddy's career and his stats and everything before we move on?
Yeah, well, I think that he makes some really good points about the fact that in maybe 2011, 2012, there were some really important innings. The one in particular was the game at, in fact, I'll name 2 games. There was a game at Nelson which we tied, which he improvised quite a lot of shots, playing paddle sweeps and just sweeping the fast bowlers, and nearly got us over the line, but didn't quite get there.
Got out to a full toss, Jez.
Yeah. And the other game was the 2011 game against Rami, where he battered at the end, and him and Matt Walker saw us home. I'm sure Paddy will be able to give more details about that game if he can remember it. But Mickey Haslam bowled in the last over. We haven't won anything for a while, and we were literally a bunch of kids and a few older players who were experienced, good players, Blaise and Dooch and Chaz, who, they've been there and done it. And us, stupid children, playing against the mighty Rami and John Fielding and Mickey Haslam, and Paddy getting us over the line was really incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible game.
fantastic performance. Yeah, it really was.
Gordon, send Morehouse to save the house.